Hi guys, good afternoon. I hope I'm audible and visible. So I hope you guys have started joining in. Great. So today, as per the plan, so we're gonna go with the last part of our theoretical session from SQL. So we have a few things left up from the last discussion. So we were left with the group buys, and I think somebody asked the question on union and union all, right? So we're gonna do that as well today. Cool. So we're going to cover the remaining parts of the SQL theories before we jump into the exercises. So we have planned the session tomorrow. So tomorrow going to be a master class, master day for SQL. So we're going to have a run through of almost 2.5 hours of lecture tomorrow. So we're going to be solving a lot of questions. So we're going to be finishing all of our content part today. Okay, so the content part related to our concepts of SQL. So I'm going to do just a quick recap of sequels of whatever we have done so far, right? So all the queries, TDL, DML, DCL, DCL, right? So I'm just going to give you a quick recap. So we had a few recommendations there. And also by the end, I'm going to be covering my last part, which is my group buys, and also things on unions, right? So let's discuss that. Cool. So anybody has any questions, guys? If you guys have started joining in, just a quick hello or hi in the chat would be really good. So, and you can call your friends, whosoever is expected to join our lecture today, so they can join us. Cool. So today is our L5, lecture 5 for SQL Group By and the unions, and we are into a master SQL session today. Cool, guys. Any questions? Please put up your question in the chat so meanwhile, we can get started. Hey, good afternoon, Ravi. Thank you so much for joining in. Cool. So I'll just introduce myself, what I've done so far, right? And definitely a quick run through of our slides. And before we jump into the lectures. But again, guys, I'm monitoring my chat. So if anybody has any questions from anywhere, right? So from whatever we have covered or even anything regarding your career as well. So do feel free to ask me so we can always take that. Okay. Cool, guys. So quick intro about myself. As you know, my name is Arpit Jain. You have a nice looking picture of myself on the screen, and I have 8+ years of experience. I'm a motivational speaker myself, right? So I've been into things. If you have anything related to your queries, right? So regarding your career or just give me a minute. Right. So yes. So as I was saying, so I'm a senior data scientist myself. So if you have anything which you feel like you have any questions regarding your data science journey, so what you're expected to do in your life, and any questions regarding data science, right? So you can always ask me that, right? So I'll be taking care of that thing. And also, I'm a motivational speaker too. So if you have any questions regarding your career, or maybe you feel that something you want to talk about your career. So if you're stuck anywhere, you want to move into data science, or you want to do anything else in your life, right? So always we can do that. So it should not be a problem. Great. So that's about myself. So if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out. From the subject's perspective, in our course content, we'll be taking care of Python, PySpark, and SQL. So we have started with Python for quite some time now. So we are into Python for about a month and a half, and we have started with SQL last weekend. So we have done a lot of things on SQL, but again, we can take care of other things as well. So we expected to practice a lot of questions on SQL, and as I've said, so SQL is all about practice. So we're gonna do that tomorrow. So we'll be finishing up my the content part of SQL, but again, as in if something comes up, so we'll take it again. So it should not be a problem. Okay. Great, guys. So will SQL going to help for Q&A? Why not? Yes, why not? So QA, definitely yes. Yeah, again, it depends. For QA, specific quality analyst, it depends on the role. I believe, yes, SQL is a mandatory requirement there. But again, only QA will not help. So we have other things as well apart from required things in QA. So I believe maybe your coding languages, I'm not sure. So it could be Python, it could be your Java, right? So depending on the assessment which you'll be doing there depends. But again, SQL is again one of the requirements there, so it will be helpful. Yep. True. So again, guys, you have this code right in front of you, which is Python 10, right? So if you use this Python 10, you will actually get a Relevel sample test paper. Okay, so I was talking about Relevel for quite some time now, right? So Relevel is a platform which Unacademy has introduced for your, the career success for the jobs, right? So if you use this code Python 10, you're going to get a free sample test paper there. And if you use this Relevel sample test paper before you jump into the Relevel assessments, that's anyway going to be much more beneficial. And it's again totally free of cost, guys. Right? So please use this Python code, Python 10 as your code to get a free Relevel sample test paper. Do not forget to use this code, so you'll get a free test paper there. Right, but again, before this, let's try to understand what is a Relevel platform, right? So I've been talking about this, so I'll just quickly run through this and then we'll jump to our content. So as you know, Relevel is a test hiring platform which has been introduced by Unacademy. So it is purely towards your job, right? So this is a platform where you can expect your dream job, and there are many reasons for this to be launched. So many of times students do miss out on the opportunities due to multiple reasons. And some of them could be like, they don't have the better degree or a poor networking. So better degree as in they feel that a degree from a tier A colleges could be one of the potential hindrances, and definitely you don't know the right people to get hired for, right? That could be one of the reasons. And also your resume doesn't really stand out from the companies you are applying to. So yeah, because there are at least 100 other applicants for the same job, right? So there are very high chances that your resume does not really stand out, right? And it could be the issue in your resume. It could be something else which is beyond your control also, right? So I mean that's totally possible, and there are very practical scenarios. Great. And also you would have seen that you have applied for 60-50 companies or maybe more than that, right? Still you're not getting the calls, right? So that's again a very practical issues, guys. So these could be one of the reasons where candidates do miss out on the great opportunities, and that's where Relevel has been introduced. So it's basically a first test hiring platform by Unacademy, which is helping the job seekers to find their dream jobs. Okay, and here the jobs are purely based on your skills and talent, nothing else, not on your degree and not on the people who you know, right? So it's purely on your skills. So it's basically an assessment platform. So you have to choose a particular portfolio of your choice, right? And once you have done that, you'll be actually going through an assessment. Assessment as in you'll be going through multiple rounds of tests. And the only expectation is to score well in those tests, right? So if you're scoring well enough, you'll be getting the calls for the companies and nothing else. There are no prior degree requirement, no prior networking requirement, nothing else. Purely on your skills. Right, and there are certain other benefits also involved if you be part of my test hiring platform, which is Relevel. So I'll just quickly give you a brief of all the other benefits which are also associated with this Relevel platform. The prominent being ones are like, there are 50 plus organizations which are currently hiring directly from Relevel. Okay. So these include my top startups and even the unicorns. The startups could be like, and the companies could be like EY, Cred, Razorpay, Urban Company, Upgrad, and many more, right? So many more such companies are hiring directly from my Relevel platform, right? And there are 1,000 plus open job positions across 3 portfolios right now. So those are business development, front-end development, and the back-end development. Multiple roles also available within these portfolios. So you can get your job. So there are at least 100,000 jobs plus available right now across these different portfolios. The good thing is this is again completely online, guys. So you can take this test, the assessment test, you can part of this Relevel platform completely online. So you're not supposed to be physically present anywhere. You can take it from the comfort of your home. Okay. And also the best part is this test is completely free, right? So this is a beta platform. So you can attempt this test for completely free. Okay. So the only thing is, as I've said, so there are multiple rounds involved. So probably 5 rounds. You can, once you sign up, you'll get the details. You have to finish this entire test in a day's time. So, and that date could be of your choice, but you have to finish this entire test in a single day. And once you have given that, you'll get the Relevel score within a week's time, right? So basically, once you clear the test with the qualifying score, right, so you'll be able to create an amazing candidate profile, which will help you showcase your skills and stand out from the crowd. And something that stands out always gets noticed by the companies, right? So to get the Relevel profile, guys, the candidate has to score more than at least 70% marks. So the total is 1,000 right now. So you have to score at least 700 out of that. So to get a Relevel profile made for you, but again, higher the better, right? So, and again, the good thing is the candidate can retake the test a number of times, but the only thing is they can only take it after 30 days of your first attempt, right? So that the time gap between the two tests has to be 30 days minimum, right? If they don't meet the qualifying criteria. And also the candidates will be rewarded with some exciting goodies like MacBook, iPhone, and many more such exciting prizes for the highest rank holders in a particular category in a Relevel test for the month. So the highest marks getter will be actually awarded with some exciting goodies, right? So with Relevel, guys, you are in a unique position to invite the interest from the companies instead of you hunting for your opportunities on your own, right? So once you have given the test and with a great score, you have to just sit back and relax. The companies will reach out to you. Okay, so it's just a vice versa of your things, right? And also, guys, I would say that the registration is also quite easy. So you have the link right there on the screen, so you can use that. So once you've registered for the platform, right? So the next thing, it'll ask you to actually look for your, select the test of your choice. So this test choice are basically three right now. So there are business development, front end, and the back end development, as I was saying. And there are multiple roles available within these portfolios, right? So like sales associate, relationship manager, customer engagement associate, with your business development side. And also for the front end development side, so we have Angular developer, web developer, and many more. Likewise, for the backend, we have data engineer and the research engineer and all that, right? So you can choose the test of your choice. And once you have done that, the next thing it will be asked is towards your a date. So you have to choose a date of your choice. So, right. So as I've said, so it's a beta platform, slots are limited. So I would suggest you to book it fast. But once you have selected the date of your choice, once you feel that you will be available to the best of your mind, right? So that's what it's required. So once you have done that, that's it. So the last thing will be asking for you to create a neat video resume. So you have selected your test, you have selected your date. Now the last thing is your neat video resume. So you have to talk about yourself in roughly 30 seconds to 3 minutes of a video. Talk about your accomplishments, what you have done so far, why the company should hire you, what is the best thing about yourself. So talk about yourself in a bit of a detail, right? And definitely the basic requirements: be well groomed, good audio settings, good video, right? So good ambience, good lighting. So they're the basic things, right? So just talk about yourself in that video. And once you've done that, that's it. So you have to just sit back and wait for your D-Day. So give your best on your D-Days. That's your examination day, right? And so guys, please do register for the Relevel right now. So there is no anyway charges involved, right? So you'll not be anyway paying anything here. So it's all completely free. So definitely a worth trying. And you can use this code Python10 to get a free sample test paper also, right? So it's always beneficial for you. So there's no charges involved. So you can at least give it a try for once, and maybe your luck will work out. Guys, please go ahead. Great. So and also guys, so this, please join with us on Telegram. So we have an official Telegram channel. The link is also there in the YouTube video description. So if you join this, that is a one place stop for you for all of your queries. So all the upcoming lectures, all the upcoming things, details. So this is a one place stop. So you're getting all of your updates right here. Okay. So guys, as always, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, right? So the only thing which you can do right now for us. So if you feel that you're getting benefited, do feel free to motivate us as well, right? So with this, guys, so we are into our slides today. So we are going to discuss about SQL Group By and Unions, right? So if anybody has any other questions, do feel free to let me know that. But again, I'm gonna I've got an offline advice to run through the slides again, maybe just do a quick recap of whatever we have done. So that's totally fine, we can do that. So we're gonna do the quick recap of the things, right? So that you are aware, because from tomorrow onwards, guys, we're gonna be doing completely hands-on. Okay, so as I was telling earlier, so I'll be expecting you to have the MySQL Workbench set up on your system, so that we can work side by side. If you have any questions, any queries, you can always let me know that, right? So we can do the live solving of the problems. Cool. Great. So cool, guys. Anybody has question? Ankit says hello. Okay, hello Ankit. Thank you for joining in. Hello Bhaiya, thanks for the lectures. Thank you, thank you for being part of our lectures. Totally my pleasure. Great. Thank you so much, Partha. Great. So that's the only thing which I was expecting. Or you just need to set up the MySQL Workbench to be really ready for the coding parts, right? So we're gonna doing the live problem solving from tomorrow onwards. But today I'm gonna be covering whatever content we have, okay? So which is actually necessary to jump into the exercises. But again, see, the contents are never ending. We can still go maybe take 5, 6 more classes, but does not really make sense to me, right? So let's done with our lectures today. So if you have any questions in the lecture, do ask me today itself. Okay. So because from tomorrow onwards, as I was saying, we'll try to jump into the hands-on. And meanwhile, while doing the hands-on, if you get any questions, we'll anyway be solving this. We'll be taking the questions. But again, I'll be expecting you to, be up on your toes. So to solve the questions. Yeah, Sumant, why not? Yeah. So you can always ask the question. So no problem at all. Please do ask that. So even if you have anything right now, you can do that. But again, anyway, we'll be covering Union today in today's lecture. So do feel free to ask that time also. Totally fine. Cool, let's start. So I'm just gonna quickly run through our slides again. So whatever we have prepared so far, whatever we have done, right? So nothing fancy here, guys. So we were talking about databases. So before SQL, we have to actually understand what is a database, right? Because SQL is what? SQL is a structured query language, right? So we are running something or some query or basically some command on a structured data. So that's my structured query language, right? So there are two things here. Structured. What is the meaning of a structured data? What is a query, right? So that's what we have to understand here, right? So first we have to understand what are the databases. So basically SQL is one of the languages, one of the ways you can interact with my database. Or database kya hai? Database is nothing but a collection of my information. So organized collection of my information, I would better say, right? So for example, suppose aapke paas, the data could be of any type, right? So it could be, suppose a phone number of somebody, it's a data. Maybe my age for you, it's an information, it's a data. It's a single piece of information, right? So there could be multiple things which you can have as individual piece of information. That is my data. So you are storing this smaller pieces of information in some collected way, in an organized way. So that's my database, right? And database are again of multiple types. So broadly I would say structured and unstructured, right? So unstructured means we can have a file system. We don't have any particular schema. Schema by that means I don't have a particular relation between my tables. So basically rows and columns are not there. So that's again one format. So that's my unstructured data. It could be for multiple purposes again. Relational databases, I mean, where I can create all the structured data, where I can make the relationship between multiple tables, right? So and the data is in the format of rows and columns. So I have a structured data. I have a formatted data like a spreadsheet, right? So like an Excel sheet you would have seen, right? So I have rows and columns, a defined data there. So that's my DB. So that's my relational database. So what is database? First, any information, anything which you have a collected information on, right? So that is my database, right? So nothing fancy there. Anything could be my data, like a customer data, my weather record, my shops inventory, employee information, telephone directory. Everything is a collected information organized in some or the other way, right? So that's how we're going to do that. But again, the second thing is you have to understand what is the DBMS, right? So on the databases, we have a management system to govern the body. So to do some actions on my databases, right? So now you have to perform something on my databases. Like maybe you want to add a new file, you want to insert new data, you want to access a particular information, you want to modify some data, you want to delete some data, right? A lot of operations which you can perform, right? So to perform these, we need some kind of management body to take care of all this. So DBMS is nothing but you are actually, it's a management system on which you are, through which you are actually accessing my data and doing a lot of operations on top of that. So that is my DBMS, right? So, definitely there are a lot of advantages involved. So yes, it's reduced redundancy, security, my flexibility. You're able to access the data in a much better way. So backup and recovery also very good advantage there, right? So you have some kind of management body to take care of my database. That's basically more of a theoretical part. The next very important concept here is, guys, RDBMS, relational databases. So I have DBMS, my database management system, and I have RDBMS, relational database management system. So as I've said, so RDBMS is more of a structured format data. So I have in which multiple tables in the format of rows and columns, and each tables can actually be related through some kind of a relation. And the relation में क्या हमने पढ़ा था? We heard the concept of primary key, foreign key, composite keys, and all that, right? So there is some sort of relation which we can establish between multiple tables and which are organized in the format of rows and columns. That's my RDBMS, right? And definitely it's more easier to locate and access a specific value, right? Because everything is indexed, right? So we can give a particular row ka naam and then we can give a particular column ka naam, so I can get the exact value, right? So it's more of an indexed data, right? So it's more easier to locate and access, right? And definitely it's easier to run queries on a multiple tables at once. That is definitely by true. Okay, so we have one question from Partha. We can take that. How can we change the size of any table elements column after creating a table to, that is, suppose I declare employee ID in 10, but now I want to change it to change it. Okay, how can I do it? I believe you're trying to alter the change. Okay, so what is this? Okay, somebody responded. We can use alter, yeah, alter table. Yeah, obviously we can use alter table here, na? So what's the problem in that? So alter table में you can give the column का नाम alter table employee ID int or int 10 है ना. So अब suppose कोई भी employee ID करना, so alter table and then give int again as 20. It's totally fine. You can do it using alter tables. So देखो basically इसमें क्या है ना, आपको मैं still समझाता हूँ. There are very simple logics here. Whenever you are trying to change something related to my table, है ना, table में क्या है, table specifically मेरा क्या हुआ यहाँ पे, columns या फिर schema. Tables में आप क्या change करते हो, schema changes करते हो, right? So that is my table related changes. Either you add, modify or delete, right? So table related changes that is coming to my DDL, data definition language. Definition language में क्या है आपके पास, alter है, insert है, delete है, truncate है, राइट. सो देयर आर सर्टेन फ्यू कमांड्स. सो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आप क्या करना चाहते हो. आप इसमें स्कीमा लेवल चेंजेस कर रहे हो तो बेसिकली डीडीएल के अंदर फॉल करेगा, राइट. अगर आप किसी डेटा में चेंजेस करोगे, इफ यू वांट टू एक्सेस अ पर्टिकुलर डेटा, इफ यू वांट टू डू समथिंग ऑन द डेटा, दैट इज माय डीएमएल, राइट. सो आप मॉडिफाई करो डेटा को. सो इन दैट केस देयर इज समथिंग एल्स, राइट. सो ऑलवेज अंडरस्टैंड कि आपको ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है, उसके हिसाब से यू कैन फ्रेम अप द थिंग्स, आपको क्या करना है. बट थैंक यू सो मच सुमंत. यस, यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट. सो वी कैन डू दैट विद ऑल्टर टेबल. यस, ठीक है guys, चलो coming back to a slide again. Why SQL? So now I have things called as RDBMS. I know my relational databases, right? So now SQL is basically a platform or a way through which we're gonna access my RDBMS, through which we're gonna do some operations on my RDBMS, right? And those could be like my accessing of my data, my description of my data, my definition of my data, my in fact manipulation of my data, right? So a lot of things, right? So it's totally possible through my RDBMS queries, right? So this is where my SQL is into place. So we are using SQL on top of my RDBMS, right? So SQL is towards my structured query language, right? So that's something which is always important to understand. ठीक है. सो प्रोमिनेंट टर्म्स हियर गाइस, एज आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट डेटा एंड डेटाबेस. सो डेटा आपको पता है सिंगल पीस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन है, एंड डेटाबेस इज नथिंग बट माय कलेक्टेड पीस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन और कलेक्टेड ऑर्गेनाइज्ड पीस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, राइट. सो दैट्स माय डेटाबेस. ठीक है, हम इसी दो चीजें के बारे में बात करेंगे इसमें. So I was talking about the SQL data types also, guys. So as I was telling this, so I have 6 major classes: numeric, data type, character, Unicode, binary, and miscellaneous, right? So numeric mein I have multiple internal subtypes also. You have tiny int, small int, big int, float, real, bit, right? So a lot of individual data types. So that's again a very important thing. So you have to understand what are the differences, right? So basically tiny int hai, small int hai, big int hai. So इसमें differences क्या है? So again the difference is guys purely towards your memory allocation, right? So for example, just say suppose abhi I think somebody asked this question, right? For I think Partha asked this. So Parth asked this question, right? So I have the int of 10. So basically what he means that I am expecting a character, I'm expecting an element employee ID which cannot exceed more than 10 digits, right? So that's his expectation. So he is defining it as a maximum of 10 digits, nothing beyond that, right? So what if employee ID can only expect 3 digits? So I can still put it under small int, right? So I won't be needing an int there or a big int there. So big int definitely not needed. So int even is not needed. So I can finish the things in maybe 3 characters, 3 digits, right? So in that case, you have to understand what is the expected number I can have, right? So based on that, we can have your values defined there. Great. So that's about it. With the date time, guys, we have date time and all that. So character, we have char and varchar. For binary, we have other variables. Miscellaneous, we have clob, blob. So basically character large object, binary large object, XML, JSON and all that. So multiple things which you can have it. Okay, somebody is trying to spam us. Okay, great. Thank you so much, guys. I'll just block this guy. Just give me a minute. Cool. Great. So that's about us. That's about the things about the SQL data types. Let's move ahead. So we were talking about the constraints now, right? So constraints is all towards my definition of my database, right? So when I'm creating the table, right? So that's when I'm defining some of the constraints to my data. So constraint as in what all and the things. So that's my constraint part, guys. After this, we have the subsets, right? So subsets as in We have few subsets here for the SQL commands. So we have DDL, DML, DCL, and TCL, right? So DDL, as I was talking about, guys. So Parth and Suman, just to clarify again. So DDL is towards my definition language, right? So when I'm doing something from my data itself, something from my table. So I'm some definition changes on my table itself. That's what I'll be doing on top of my DDL queries, right? So DDL में हमारे पास क्या क्या आता है? DDL में we have create, alter, drop, truncate, comment, and rename. Again, ये अब सारे commands जो हैं, you're doing something with the schema itself, with the table itself. So that's where your command will come. So create, you're creating a table. Alter, you're altering the table. Your drop, I mean, you're dropping the object from the TB, right? Truncate, आपको पता है all the records. Comment, you're adding the comment to the data dictionary. Rename, you're renaming the object, right? So this all commands are purely towards my DDL. So defining the schema, data definition language, right? So always important to understand. So DDL are towards my table schemas, my creation or the deletion or updation of my tables itself, okay? But the DMLs are towards the data. So inside the schema, we have the data now, right? So in the form of rows and columns, right? So anything, any manipulation, anything which you want to do with the data, that's where DML comes in, right? So again, DML have a lot of things to be covered up. So we'll go with DML one by one. DCL again, the control language, basically TCL is transaction control language. So these two, DCL and TCL, are basically handled by my administrators. Okay, so my database administrators. So DCL is towards my access, grant, or revoke. So I mean, there are two commands there, grant and revoke. Okay, so in DCL, suppose maybe I'm the guy from R&D, right? And maybe I'm not supposed to access the finance data, right? So finance DB I cannot access. So in that sense, I have the access. The DB guys will be granting me an access of R&D data. At the same time, revoking my access from my financial DB, right? So it's more towards my control of my databases. That's where DCL comes, right? And TCL is towards my transaction control language. So you're saving a checkpoint or maybe a rolling back to my any previous save point, right? So towards your rollback and backups and recovery. So that's where my transaction control language comes in. Okay, guys, any questions, any far? Yes, absolutely, Suman. So commit, rollback, and save point do come under TCL. Yes, so these are part of my TCL. So transaction control language, yes. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of my DDL. So DDL में इसको मैंने बताया, I have create, alter, drop, truncate, comment, rename, correct? So let's take it one by one. Create का मैंने आपको बताया था, जो I think Parth asked this question, right? So create table में again. So create table में I am creating the table. So I'm creating a fresh table altogether. But again, guys, just remember this. Do we create the tables every day in our life? Suppose if you're working in any organization, do you think that you'll be creating tables every day in your life? No. Because databases में schemas are generally defined. You're not creating a table every day of your life, right? So most of the time when you're working on some data, you'll be actually accessing the data, right? So that's where my DML comes, right? Like a select statement, right? Again, part of your DML. So you're in most of the scenarios we're actually working on the databases, you are actually accessing the data. You're not creating the table again and again. But again, being part of the DB, so being part of my DB MS language, you're supposed to know this, okay? But again, look out for your priorities, what exactly you're trying to do. Okay, so now here in this create table, so basically create table mein you're creating the table. So my syntax is create table. Again, guys, always one thing to remember is I have written certain things in blocks, my upper caps, and some things in small, right? So you can see this create table is in caps, right? And likewise, primary key here is one of the keywords. So this is in caps. Likewise, the constraint not null, my data type int, varchar. Some things are in caps, some things are in small. A quick question to you guys. Do you think that this is my my SQL is I would say the case sensitive language? Question for you. Do you think SQL is a case sensitive language? Quickly, guys. Parth says yes. Anybody else has any question? Okay, Suman says SQL is case insensitive language. Okay, good. Any other response, guys? Okay, Ravi says yes. Okay, let me just give you a important pointer here, guys. Always remember SQL is case sensitive. Okay, SQL always is case sensitive language. But the important thing to understand here is the platform on which we run the SQL queries, like Oracle DB, like your MySQL Workbench, right? So these platforms have inbuilt functionalities which makes your SQL queries case insensitive. Okay. So it takes care of your casing issues inbuilt as per the functionality of those platforms. But if you talk about SQL as a language, yes, then SQL as a language is case sensitive. It is very important to know this. Okay. Suman, just for your answer and just for your response, this question is very important question. This is most frequently asked question in the interviews for any SQL interviews, right? SQL is always case sensitive. Okay. But the thing is, the platform on which we run the SQL queries, like any platform we talk about, like dbeaver or any community edition platforms, or even your MySQL Workbench, Oracle DBs, right? So all the places, these platforms take care of casing issues internally. Okay, so you can write your queries in the lower case also there, but internally SQL is case sensitive. Okay, and thank you so much, Suman. Great. It's always good to know that. And this is one of the most important interview questions. It's always asked. Great. So yes, so we are creating the tables here, right? So can you see this? I'm giving the name of my table employee. So after create table syntax, I have the name of my table here. So this is my employees. Just let me pull out the highlighter. Right. So I have my name of the table here, employees, right? And on top of that, I'm adding certain variables here, right? So you can see this, I'm adding employee ID. I have first name, I have last name, I have salary, and then nothing else. So I'm defining the primary key here. So yes, for the table, you're also supposed to define the primary key, right? So basically I'm adding four different tables, four different columns here. Employee ID, which is of data type int, and I'm expecting maximum of 10 characters, 10 digits here, right? And by default, it has to be not null. So I'm giving a constraint to my table, to this column at the time of the creation itself, that this column specifically cannot be null. Okay. And the reason is I'm also using this column as a primary key, right? So I'm defining employee ID as primary key at the end. So by default, you also know that primary key is supposed to be unique and it has to be by default not null, right? But still it can be null. There are some in cases where no, the primary key itself is null. So I don't know. So depending on your data treatment, so what we're going to use that accordingly. But again, by constraint, if we define the data as not null here, so this cannot accept a data with a null information of my employee ID. Okay, so that is by default. So that's, again, guys, always remember the constraints, I'm defining it at the time of my table creation itself, right? So that's something which is important to understand, right? So by this, we have created a table which have four columns: employee ID, first name, last name, and salary. No questions here, right? So I think it's pretty simple. So we have this create command. The next is alter, right? So alter may, I have a lot of things which we can do. So we have something called as add, right? So alter table may, we can add a column. Yeah, we can modify something. I think somebody gave this example of modify, right? So Partha only gave, right? So if I'm not wrong. Yeah, correct. So, I mean, yeah, one of the types where we've seen the examples of, we want to change the int cut 10 from say 20. So we can modify this column, right? Definitely we can modify this. We can rename this. So we have something called as rename also. We want to rename the column to something else. So all the schema related changes on my table, right? So that is totally possible on top of my alter table command. So you're altering which is already existing. So you're not creating anything new, right? So you're using the existing schema and then you're altering it based on your requirement, based on your usage. Right? So that's where you're going to use the alter table command. Cool, guys? किसी को कोई questions है इसमें? Parth, Subhant, I think you guys are clear on this anyway. Anybody else? Cool. ये देन हमें पास दो इंपॉर्टेंट कमांड्स हैं, ट्रंकेट और ड्रॉप. ठीक है, कोई मुझे क्विकली बता सकता है व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन ट्रंकेट एंड ड्रॉप? वी हैव ऑलरेडी सीन दिस बट आई वांट यू टू टेल मी दिस. सो व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन ट्रंकेट एंड ड्रॉप? क्विकली गाइस. Yes, Parak, we are trying to recap the session a bit fast. So I'm going to take maybe 10 more minutes to quickly recap the things, and then we're going to jump towards our SQL group buys and unions. Okay. Okay, so we have multiple answers here. So yeah, mostly I'm seeing here is drop, delete all the data as well as schema, truncate, delete the whole table, but not the schema. Correct? Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for being so active. Yes, absolutely. Truncate, guys, is more of you're dropping all the rows, all the information, all the data from your table. Okay. But drop is like RM minus RF star. You know, you would have heard this term RF minus RF star in Linux, right? So basically you're deleting everything. It's very dangerous command. Okay. So if you do drop table employees gone, everything is gone. Even the schema is gone, right? But again, even in that case, truncate table is also a very dangerous command because it's going to lose all the data also. So be very smart and be very decisive while running the code. These codes, this is very dangerous in your organization. ठीक है? Cool है. A manipulation क्या है guys? I have told you DDL क्या है on which is working on top of my schema, right? DML क्या है which is working on top of my data, right? So data क्या है? Data is part of my table, right? So it's within the table. So now if we're doing something on the data, that's where my DML comes. DML में क्या क्या major commands हैं? Insert, update, delete. इसके अलावा सबसे major है आपका select, right? So select को हम separately handle करेंगे. But let's talk about insert, update and delete, right? So by default आपको समझ में आ रहा होगा insert क्या है? अब you are inserting a data element into the table, right? Update क्या है? You are updating the existing information from my table. Update क्या हो सकता है? कुछ भी हो सकता है. You're updating a particular information, so some maybe a particular value you are updating है ना? कुछ भी कर सकते हो आप. Delete में क्या है? You are deleting any record or all the records from the table. Correct? Insert में क्या है guys? Quickly, as I've told you, so we have this command insert into employees. So into basically I've used कर सकते हो because you are doing inserting into the employees table, right? And then you have the column ID. This is not mandatory, so this is subjective. So it's still an optional thing. So you can use it, or if you want, you can remove this also. There are multiple ways you can insert the values. And then I have the values as a keyword, and after the values, you are supposed to give all the values for all the columns in a parenthesis. ठीक है? So that's, and then you can keep running it multiple times depending on how many rows you want to run it. That's one way of adding it. Or else you can club all of these things together and then add it in a single insert into command. You can use it like that also. And as I've said, this the column names is an optional, so you can remove the column names and still run the complete together commands here for the insert into. That's still possible. Cool, guys. That's about my insert. Nothing fancy here. It's plain simple. Nothing fancy here. Insert जब आप कर लोगे तो definitely you have this table now. So I have the empty table earlier. So when I created the table, right? So now I have my 3 records here. So 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So then we can do this. नहीं पारक, you cannot enter into some specific columns. अगर आपको कोई सिर्फ suppose for example still if you want to enter any specific column का value ना, you have to still pass the values for all the other columns also. Okay, be it a null only, just pass null, but you have to pass null. Okay, so you cannot insert into a particular column as it is directly. So you have to pass the column names for you have to pass the data for all the columns in that case. बट अगेन आगे इसमें आप क्रिएशन के टाइम में सपोज आपने उसको डिफॉल्ट इनिशियलाइज किया होगा 0 से, देन इट इज स्टिल सेकेंडरी सिचुएशन. But in the most situations, if you want to insert a particular data into a single column itself, then you have to pass. If it is not defaulted by something else, then you have to use it my data columns by default. So you have to use all the columns, and then you have to pass at least the null itself to insert into that column. And the sequence is also important there. So for example, suppose you want to insert in say employee ID, so 104, right? And you don't want to enter anything else for this. Practically तो उसका कोई sense ही नहीं बनता है. So there is no point of adding such data, है ना? So here I want to add null, and then I can add employee ID is 104. I can do that. Ideally should give you an error, Parak. So when you say that if you don't pass which value is stored, so I'm trying to get this question as suppose you're not passing the other column ka data. So in that case, it'll give you an error. So it'll not let you insert the data likewise. But again, if I'm not understanding your question correctly, you can put up the question again. Okay, one more question. I have my interviews coming up next week. Which topics should I revise in DBMS? Okay. So, so again, it depends. So if it's more of a, I would say a theoretical session, right? So, I mean, the things which we're discussing here in this interviews, in this session is more than enough for you, I believe, for your interviews perspective. But again, I believe there's no point of somebody asking you the theoretical part, so they will rather ask you to write the queries, right? That'll make more sense, right? So I believe you should be practicing on the queries more if you are looking for interviews perspective in DBMS. Okay. But again, every interviewer is different, to be honest. So if I would have been your interviewer for DBMS, maybe I would have asked you a few questions on difference between DDL, DML, and all that, and then I would have jumped towards the queries. I would have asked you to write a query. Maybe I would have given you some sample table, and I would have asked you to write some queries. And basically, interviews के जो भी queries होते हैं, वो purely select पे ही होते हैं. मतलब why would I ask you a create का command there? I mean, does not really practically make sense to me. But again, as I've said, every recruiter is different, right? So I would expect most prominently you would be asked towards your basic definitions, basic things from your things, which is part of our lectures anyway, and then towards your queries. So look for your queries, practice queries, I would say. Okay. How many more sessions will be there in the completion of SQL? Again, guys. So Chandan, so this is again a very subjective question. So why, again, I would still remain with my same answer. Why you want me to complete the sequel, right? So there's no, I mean, you're not getting a certificate. You'll not get a job right after completion of the course, right? So always try to learn something. If you are learning something, if you're investing your time, try to learn it, right? So that should be your objective. Objective should not be like completion of my sequel. So again, as I've said, so I can complete it in a day or two. That's enough for me, right? I can take a 4 hours long, marathon session and then cover it for you. But does not really make sense. You'll not understand that from there, right? So try to learn it, right? From tomorrow onwards, we'll be solving as many questions as we can, right? And there's no limit to solving the questions. We can solve it, keep solving it maybe for 2-3 months, right? A lot of questions. You can ask me any question. We can try to solve it. We'll solve it together in the live class, right? But again, so I mean, there's no point of me completing the sequel because anyway, after the sequel, you're not getting a job straight away, right? Nobody is going to. So if you're skilled enough after the course, you'll get the job. So think from that perspective, Chandan. Okay, so someone says if in ZS Associate I was rejected because of some theoretical questions in SQL. That's crazy, yeah. That's crazy. Okay, as I said, Suman, so every recruiter is different, right? So I mean, it's something which is very stupid. I have faced rejection, to be honest, in some of my previous interviews, and people were asking me some stupid theoretical questions like, yeah, rank or dense rank mid क्या difference. I was like, crazy, man. So yeah, ठीक है. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. So it's just your, I would say, maybe one odd experiences, right? But technically, आप खुद सोचो ना यार. I mean, it's not sequels में आप if you're asking a theoretical question, does not really make sense to me. And so it's just fine. So I mean, just take it is an odd experience, right? And move ahead. So it's okay. So try to take it, add it in your question bank, and be prepared for it for the next time. So take it like that. Cool, guys. Coming back to the lectures again. So I always get deviated. So ये ठीक है. Insert का हमने देख लिया. Insert के बाद update है. So update का मैंने क्या बताया? Update simply क्या करो आप existing information को आप change कर रहे हो, right? So basically, suppose for example, I have a last name something else here. So I have, I think, Kumar here, right? So you can see this. I have a Kumar name here, but I want to update this last name to Jain, for example, right? So in that case, I can write this code. So I have this update employees command. So I have update as a keyword, and then I'm using the keyword set. So basically, I'm setting the last name to something else where my employee ID is 103. You cannot just say this like this, right? So update employee set last name to Jain. So I mean, do you want it to update for entirely? No, not possible, right? So you want to update it specifically where the employee ID is 103. You have to give some condition to pass on to it so that the update has to be commanded. So that the update should run on top of that, right? So that's how my update command runs. Delete again, simple, guys. So we are using a set operator. I mean, basically a collection object here, right? So we're using an operator in. So here what I'm saying is delete from employees. So deleting something from employees where employee ID in. So in again is an operator. Again, one of the operators available in SQL, guys. So we can pass the collection object on top of it, right? So what are the collection objects? I'm saying that delete all the rows of employees where the employee ID is 101, 103, right? So it is doing like that. Okay? DCL गाइस, ग्रांट रिवोक मैंने पहले बता दिया था आपको. सो डेटाबेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स करते हैं, नथिंग वेरी कॉमनली यूज्ड. TCL में somebody again told this. So yes, commit, rollback and save point. These are the three commands for us in TCL. ठीक है. SQL ऑपरेटर्स क्विकली देख लेते हैं. सो वेयर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट और बहुत ही आई वुड से मोस्ट फ्रीक्वेंटली यूज ऑपरेटर है. फिल्टर क्राइटेरिया है बेसिकली, है ना हमारा. वेयर क्या होता है? यू आर स्पेसिफाइंग, जो बेसिकली वेयर इज फॉर माई रो आइडेंटिफायर. ओके, जब आप वेयर कमांड डालते हो ना, सो आप इसको ये बोल रहे हो कि अब डेटा से अगर आप देखना चाह रहे हो, सो वी हैव रोज एंड कॉलम्स, राइट. सो हमारा रोज जो है, कॉलम्स जो है ऑलवेज सेलेक्ट के बाद आता है, राइट. सो सेलेक्ट के बाद आप जो भी कॉलम्स डालोगे दैट विल बी माई कॉलम का नाम जो मुझे चाहिए. आपने स्टार डाला तो बेसिकली आपको सब कुछ चाहिए. यू वांट एवरीथिंग. स्टार का बाय डिफॉल्ट मीनिंग है एवरीथिंग, राइट. सो अगर कॉलम में फिल्टर करना है आपको, इफ यू वांट टू डू अ फिल्ट्रेशन ऑन द कॉलम, सो दैट विल बी आफ्टर योर सेलेक्ट. ओके, बट इफ यू वांट टू फिल्टर एनीथिंग ऑन द रो, दैट विल बी ऑन योर फिल्ट्रेशन क्राइटेरिया. दैट्स वेयर विल कम. ओके, एंड फॉर द ग्रुप वाइज में कुछ और है, बट वेयर जो है आपका बेसिकली रो का फिल्ट्रेशन कर रहा है. कॉलम का फिल्ट्रेशन यहां पर हो रहा है सेलेक्ट के बाद, एंड द रो फिल्ट्रेशन इज हैपनिंग इन दिस. Okay, so now look at this code very carefully guys. Select को समझना बहुत जरूरी is one of the very important statements. Okay, select basically क्या करो, you are selecting something from the table. Okay, so you are selecting something. So क्या something है वो हम लोग देखेंगे. Select star. So basically star का मतलब है कि I want all the columns. अभी मैंने रो की बात नहीं की, अभी मैंने डेटा की बात नहीं की है यहाँ पे, यहां तक. ठीक है, select star from employees अगर मैं बोल रहा हूं, by default it means that I want all the columns. Okay, अगर इसके बाद मैं कुछ नहीं देता हूं, so basically you can see this, I have a semicolon here, right. So semicolon is the end of my command. So if you want to end your command, so by default this will not run because I have not written my semicolon here. Okay, so if I add a semicolon here, that means that this is the only statement. Then it means that I need everything from the table. So in this case I want all the columns, all the rows also. Okay, so star means everything because I have not written any condition from my rows here. But once I have written something from my rows, that means that कॉलम्स तो मेरे को सारे के सारे चाहिए ही चाहिए, बट फ्रॉम द रोज आई ओनली वांट वेयर द एम्प्लॉय आईडी इज इक्वल टू 101. ठीक है, वो यहां पे मैच कर रहा है. सो बेसिकली दिस रो आई एम क्वालिफाइंग फ्रॉम माय फिल्ट्रेशन क्राइटेरिया, राइट. सो आउटपुट में आई विल बी हैविंग ऑल द कॉलम्स व्हिच इज एम्प्लॉय आईडी, फर्स्ट नेम, लास्ट नेम एंड सैलरी. बट रोज में मेरे पास वही होगा जहां पे ये क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल करेगा, वेयर एम्प्लॉय आईडी इज इक्वल टू 101. ठीक है, that's how my select is working. Any questions guys? Please feel free to ask me your questions. ठीक है, so quick question हो guys, please put up in the chat. We're going to take that. So now after this I have something called as logical operators, है ना. So logical operators क्या है guys? By default मेरे पास 3 logical operators हैं. Same thing है, and, or not. Okay, एंड में क्या है, बेसिकली हमारा 2 कंडीशन है इसमें, फर्स्ट कंडीशन एंड सेकंड कंडीशन. अगर दोनों ट्रू होगा देन आउटपुट भी मेरा ट्रू होगा. अगर दोनों में से कोई भी एक कंडीशन फॉल्स होगा देन आउटपुट विल बी फॉल्स. एंड गेट, और गेट, नॉट गेट आपने पढ़ा होगा कॉलेज में पहले, राइट. सेम चीज है, ऑपरेटर का मतलब ही वही है. एंड बेसिकली क्या है कि मेरे दोनों कंडीशन ट्रू होने चाहिए, देन मेरा आउटपुट विल बी ट्रू. और के लिए क्या है, अगर इफ ईदर ऑफ द कंडीशंस आर ट्रू देन द आउटपुट विल आल्सो बी ट्रू, है ना. सो एंड में दोनों सही होना चाहिए, और में कोई एक भी सही होगा तो चलेगा. नॉट में क्या है, जो भी आउटपुट है उसका ऑपोजिट इज माय आउटपुट. सो इफ आई एम सेइंग दैट 5 is greater than 2, yes, 5 is greater than 2, so 5 is greater than 2, so that means this is resulting in true. So not of true is false, है ना. So you're negating your output basically. ठीक है, so that's how I'm going to use it. So अब commands देखो यहाँ पे. So I have this, select star from employees where first name is equal to Arpit and salary is equal to 15,000. ठीक है, सो बेसिकली आई एम सेइंग दैट जहां फर्स्ट नेम अर्पित भी होना चाहिए एंड सैलरी भी 15,000 होनी चाहिए. Quickly guys, so now I have a question for you. Look at the second statement. I have this select star from employees where first name is equal to Arpit and salary is equal to 15, or salary is equal to 15,000. So you have this table in front of you, right? So can somebody tell me what is the output here? How many rows, how many columns? So you have your query, select star from employees where employee ID is where first name is Arpit or salary is equal to 15,000. Quickly guys, how many rows, how many columns will be there in the output? Guys, again, as I'm telling this is very important. Don't give me just two here, Sumant. Give me the row numbers and the column numbers, okay? See, understanding this is very important, okay? So if you can understand the view table, guys, I'm still repeating it. This is a very important concept. You have to understand this. So if you can imagine, if you can view table as mean is just a temporary table for you, okay? It has not been stored in the database. So once you run this, you'll get an output, right? So that's my view table. So if you can visualize your view table, right? Trust me, writing the queries in SQL become very easy for you. What is the QS? QS, I think you were saying about query, right? So QA, basically I'm asking what select star from employees where first name is Arpit or salary is equal to 15,000. Okay. So, okay. Sumant and Parak says 2 rows and 4 columns. Great. Anybody else has any other response from them? This should be crystal clear to everyone. There should not be any confusion. How many rows, how many columns? Trust me, guys. This seems to be very easy, but trust me, this is the most important concept in SQL. People do miss out on this. Okay, so some people will not teach you this. This is very important concept. If you cannot visualize your view table, joins, nested query का कोई मतलब नहीं बनता आपका. आप कभी नहीं कर पाओगे. बहुत ट्रिकी लगेगा आपको. Thank you, Partha, for your response. Anybody else? Anybody has any other response? If nobody is responding, I'm assuming that people have the similar answer. Cool, guys. Great. Yes, absolutely correct. So 2 rows and 4 columns. 2 rows क्यों होगा? 4 columns तो basically मैंने star बोला इसलिए because I'm selecting all the columns here, right? अब मैं 2 rows क्यों बोल रहा हूँ? Because I'm saying that 2 criteria है मेरे पास. First name is Arpit. So this row is qualifying, or salary is 15,000. So again, this row is also qualifying, right? So I have salary here is 15,000. So my output is 2 rows and 4 columns. Absolutely correct, guys. Great. So I hope this point is clear. So I'm not asking you any further questions. So we have already done that before, but I believe this point is clear. Logical के बाद हमारा कुछ certain other operators है, symbol operators हैं. So equal to, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to, or not. So not में भी हम दो तरीके से करते हैं, not equal to or not. So not equal to में मेरा क्या है, less than equal to का symbol है और exclamation equal to का symbol है. दोनों ही not equal to में अंदर आता है. ठीक है. कूल. सो सर्टेन क्वेरीज हैं यहाँ पे. चलो एक क्वेश्चन करते हैं यहाँ पे, ये लास्ट वाला करते हैं. ठीक है. सो आई हैव दिस स्टेटमेंट हियर. लेट मी जस्ट कॉपी इट फॉर, गिव मी अ मिनट. लेट मी जस्ट कॉपी इट फॉर यू. Just give me a minute, guys. I am copying this statement for you. Cool. So I hope my screen is visible again. Now can somebody tell me what is the output of this particular query? How many rows, how many columns? Look at this. Select star from employees where first name is equal to Steven and salary is greater than equal to 10,000 or employee ID in 101 or 102. Look at this question very carefully, guys. Then put up your response. What is the output here? How many rows, how many columns? Okay, Parak says 2 rows and 4 columns. Any other response from anyone? Suman says 2 rows and 4 columns. Great. Any other response, guys? Parth also says 2 rows and 4 columns. Anybody else in the chat? Guys, I'm still calling your name. Please, if anybody has any doubt, please do reach out to me because this concept is very important. Thank you so much, Karthik, for responding. Yes. Great. Yes. Absolutely, guys. You are absolutely correct. 2 rows and 4 columns. I believe I don't need to explain this again. So this is quite crystal clear. And this is how it should be. If you are able to view your table, right? If you are able to understand कि output में क्या आएगा finally आपके पास, that is where your nested queries comes into picture. That's where it is important to understand it. ठीक है? सिंपल है, टोरोलॉजिकल कर लिया. अब हमारे पास ये अगेन लिस्ट ऑफ ऑपरेटर्स मेरे पास बिटवीन लाइक इज नल इन एंड डिस्टिंक्ट है, राइट. बिटवीन आपको पता है फॉर चेकिंग सर्टेन बिटवीन द रेंजेस. लाइक का मैंने आपको लास्ट टाइम बताया था, वी आर यूजिंग द परसेंटेज, राइट. सो लाइक यू आर इन द लाइक यू आर स्पेसिफिकली पासिंग सम पैटर्न्स, राइट. सो पैटर्न्स एज इन suppose if you want to search my name Arpit, so you want to qualify where the first name is like where the first name like Arpit, so you're passing the entire name, right. So that's where you're not passing any special character there, so that's what here, right. You're passing this select star from employees where first name like Arpit, so you're passing all the characters by default, okay. But what if you want to you don't want to pass the entire name, you want to pass a certain particular pattern. So to use a pattern, you have to define the percentages. So the percentage is my, actually I would say an additional character here. So percentage is used for anything else. Okay, so that's the definition. Anything else is fine. So for example, suppose I want to have all the names which starts from capital A. Okay, so in that case, I'll be giving A%. So starting with A and anything after A is fine. So that's my percent. So anything A after that is fine, right, for me, right? So I have percent there. Okay. So now suppose I want to say that I want the names which ends in T. For example, the end character has to be T. So in that case, before T, anything is fine for me, right? So I will be writing percent then T, right? Because I want the ending should be T. Before T, anything is fine for me. Likewise, if I want something in the between, like for example, I want the name should be having R in between somewhere, right? So in that case, I would be saying percent. So anything before R is fine. So percent R. And even after R is also fine. So percent R percent will be my pattern here, right? So it's very simple. So always define percent as your anything for this is fine. Okay. Okay. Parak says distinct is not clear. Distinct क्यों नहीं clear यार? Okay. ठीक है. So distinct क्या होता है यार? Only unique values. ठीक है. Distinct का मतलब होता है unique values. For example, suppose आपका table कहाँ गया? ये है ना? सपोज हमने मेरे पास ये टेबल है, ठीक है. एंड आई वांट सेलेक्ट डिस्टिंक्ट लास्ट नेम फ्रॉम एम्प्लॉइज, ठीक है. जस्ट गिव मी अ मिनट, आई एम जस्ट एडिंग दिस कमांड फॉर यू हियर एंड जस्ट गिव मी अ मिनट. ओके, सेलेक्ट डिस्टिंक्ट last name from employees. Okay, cool. I hope my screen is visible to you. Cool. I'm really sorry. So the format has changed. So I have just quickly added that. Great. So now can somebody tell me what is the output here? Right. So I just explained you the concept here, distinct for Parak, but I want to understand people who understands this, right? So can somebody tell me what is the output for this? So if I'm doing select distinct last name from employees, so let's forget about the spelling of employees, that's wrong. Okay. So can somebody tell me what is output here? How many rows, how many columns? Quickly guys, what is output here? Select distinct last name from employees. Same table which I have there in between. What is the output here? How many rows, how many columns? Select distinct last name from employees. Parak, you can skip this. I'll explain you. Okay. Suman says 2 rows and 1 column. Okay. But Nishu says Jan and Shukla. What does it mean, Nishu? So do you say that it'll only print Jan and Shukla? What about rows and columns? Okay, Partha says deleted. Deleted is a very strong word, Parth. Very strong word. It will not be deleted because you're anyway just printing the table, right? You're just viewing the table, viewing the results. Nishu, I'm still waiting for your response. I want to understand when you say, okay, so you have responded 2 rows and 1 columns. Okay, great. Anybody has any other response? Karthik, employee ID is equal to 101. मैं समझा नहीं आपका पॉइंट. ठीक है, अभी सिर्फ नीचे वाला देखो. आई एम जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस वन. सेलेक्ट डिस्टिंक्ट लास्ट नेम फ्रॉम एम्प्लॉयज. सो इसमें क्या हो रहा है पार्क? यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस. सो डिस्टिंक्ट मतलब यूनिक वैल्यूज. ठीक है. सो यूनिक वैल्यूज क्या है मेरे पास? मेरे पास स्पेसिफिकली है जैन एंड शुक्ला, राइट. अब देखोगे जैन रिपीट हो रहा है मेरा, करेक्ट. सो जैन इज रिपीटिंग मेरे पास ट्वाइस. So when I'm saying distinct, I only want the unique values to be taken here. So output will be having only two rows, Jan and Shukla, because the third row, which is Jan, has already been taken care. So distinct का मतलब क्या है? You have to only print the distinct ones. Okay, so the output will be having one column. So the column name would be distinct last name. Okay, the column name would not be last name. The column name would be distinct last name, and the values would be Jan and Shukla. Anybody has any question there on the column name also? So if you select distinct last name, the column name would not remain last name. The column name would change to distinct last name. Okay, cool, ठीक है. बेसिक चीजें इसमें तो हमने कर ही लिया है. चलो एग्रीगेशंस का देख लेते हैं लास्ट क्विकली. किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन हो? पारक, आपको अगर क्लियर हो गया तो प्लीज डू रेस्पॉन्ड यस, है ना, और एल्स आप डाल सकते हो. Okay, people have putting the question. So it says, sorry sir, what I meant was it will display employee. अच्छा, okay, oh Karthik, sure, I got your point. Yes. So नहीं, इसमें basically employee ID display नहीं करेगा because we are just displaying the distinct last name, right? So employee ID will not be displayed anyway. We are just displaying the last name. And although yes, to answer your issue, the column name will change here. The column name will not remain last name because the column name will be renamed to distinct bracket last name. Okay, then you can further rename it using the as operator. So I'll be just showing it to you now. So after this aggregation, you can see this average, count, max, min, sum. You can already do this. So it's nothing fancy there. You can do this. So can you see this? So I've mentioned it here straight away. So can you see when I do this, select average salary or select distinct last name, something of that sort, right? So the output column name will change. The output will be column will be having this as your name of your column, AVG bracket salary. But if you want to rename this, you can rename it using the as operator. Okay, so the output will now be now this average salary has been renamed to sal underscore avg. Okay, so now the output column name would be sal underscore avg. You can see this. This is again a very important concept, guys. So your output column name will change. Okay, so the output column name will change once you put any functions on top of your standard queries. Even in that case, distinct is also a function, right? So distinct function में आपका column name change हो जाएगा output में. ठीक है? Cool. यहां तक कोई issues है? अब हम आज के कंटेंट में आते हैं. ग्रुप बाइज. ग्रुप बाई फटाफट खत्म करते हैं. सिंपल है, इसमें भी कुछ ज्यादा नहीं करना है हमें. The column name here would be sum of salary. So column name here will be SUM bracket में salary, then bracket close. That will be your name of your column output में. नहीं यार. सो आप काउंट इन टाइप पे क्यों काम करेगा? काउंट बेसिकली आपका काउंट करने के लिए है. सो आप काउंट स्टार भी करते हो या फिर काउंट पर्टिकुलर कॉलम भी कर सकते हो. वी आर काउंटिंग द नंबर ऑफ रोज देयर, सो इट विल वर्क फॉर ऑल, नॉट ओनली फॉर इंट. ठीक है परक, सुमन, थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू निशु. ठीक है, चलो ग्रुप बाई पढ़ते हैं फटाफट. ग्रुप बाइज क्या है गाइस? ग्रुप बाइज बेसिकली क्या है कि यू आर, देखो सबसे पहले ग्रुप बाइज क्यों करते हैं, तो इसका मतलब क्या है? ग्रुप बाय, है ना. सो यू आर ग्रुपिंग समथिंग. सो यू आर ग्रुपिंग योर स्टैंडर्ड डेटा इनटू स्मॉलर चंक्स ऑफ योर पीसेस, राइट? सो बेसिकली यू आर चंकिंग योर डेटा इनटू स्मॉलर पीसेस. ठीक है. अब इसमें सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप ग्रुप बाय करते कैसे हो. ठीक है, आपको मैं डेटा पे शो करूंगा, बट इसका ऑर्डर जानना बहुत जरूरी है. ठीक है. अब हमारे पास वेयर है. सो सपोज फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू वांट टू डू अ ग्रुप बाय, और ग्रुप बाय के ऊपर कुछ आपको कंडीशन लिखना है, तो हमेशा यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि करेक्ट ऑर्डर क्या है, करेक्ट सीक्वेंस ऑफ योर क्वेरीज क्या है. हमेशा आप सीक्वेंस स्टार्ट करते हो सेलेक्ट से बाय डिफॉल्ट, देन आता है फ्रॉम, एंड इफ देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड एज वेयर, द वेयर डालोगे, अदरवाइज वेयर मैंडेटरी नहीं है. बट ग्रुप बाय अगर आप यूज कर रहे हो तो ग्रुप बाय के पहले हमेशा वेयर होता है, वेयर के पहले ग्रुप बाय नहीं हो सकता. ठीक है. That's an error. That's a very basic error. And this is again a very important concept, guys. Again, ask in your interviews. हमेशा ग्रुप बाय के पहले वेयर होगा और ग्रुप बाय के बाद हैविंग होगा. So having is again a where condition on group by. अगर ग्रुप बाय के ऊपर आपको कुछ अगर कुछ फिल्टर करना है, then you'll be using the having. So having is just another alternative to where for the group by data. ठीक है. So आप select के बाद where लिखते हो और ग्रुप बाय के बाद having लिखते हो. and after group by your order comes. So your order is always after group by. And suppose अगर आप group by नहीं लिख रहे हो, so in that case where के बाद order होगा, और in that case अगर आप where भी नहीं लिख रहे हो तो select के बाद order होगा. So this ordering is very important. सबसे पहले select है, then from where, then group by having, then order, then सबसे last में limit. This is your correct sequence of your clauses. इसमें किसी को कोई इशू है, डू लेट मी नो. ठीक है, अब हम देखते हैं ग्रुप बाय क्या हो रहा है मेरा यहाँ पे. देखो अब मैंने यहाँ पे क्या करा है, सिंपल यहाँ पे मैंने क्या करा है, इन द सेम डेटा आई हैव एडेड अ न्यू कॉलम डिपार्टमेंट आईडी. ठीक है, डिपार्टमेंट आईडी आपको दिख रहा होगा. सो आई हैव टू एम्प्लॉइज 101 and 103 falling under the department ID 1 and the two employees 102 and 104 falling under the department ID 2. ठीक है, हाँ, यस, बाय डिफॉल्ट ऑर्डर विल बी असेंडिंग. यस निशु, करेक्ट. ठीक है, सो अब मैं क्या कर रहा हूं इसमें, लुक एट द क्वेरी वेरी केयरफुली. सो आई वांट द सम ऑफ सैलरी. ठीक है, सम ऑफ सैलरी कॉमा डिपार्टमेंट आईडी. सो बेसिकली आई वांट टू कॉलम्स हियर. फर्स्ट कॉलम का नाम क्या होगा, सम ऑफ सैलरी होगा. इसको मैंने कोई रीनेम नहीं किया तो आउटपुट में सेम आएगा, सम ऑफ सैलरी आएगा. एंड द सेकंड कॉलम वुड बी डिपार्टमेंट आईडी. सो डिपार्टमेंट आईडी DEPT आईडी होगा यहाँ पे. सो ठीक है, लुक एट दिस. सो आई एम जस्ट अगेन गोना रीनेम इट एनीवे. जस्ट गिव मी अ मिनट. DEPT आईडी. ठीक है, चलो आई रीनेम इट. सो आई एम सेइंग दैट नाउ सम ऑफ सैलरी है ना, एंड देन कॉमा DEPT आईडी डिपार्टमेंट आईडी फ्रॉम एम्प्लॉइज. ठीक है, वेयर सैलरी इज ग्रेटर देन इक्वल टू 15,000. ओके, ग्रुप बाय डिपार्टमेंट आईडी. कैन नाउ somebody tell me how many rows, how many columns would be there in the table quickly? साई विश्वनाथ, हैविंग और वेयर क्या बता देता हूं. हैविंग एंड वेयर बोथ आर फिल्टर क्लॉजेस. मीनवाइल अदर पीपल डू लेट मी नो व्हाट इज द आउटपुट हियर, हाउ मेनी रोज, हाउ मेनी कॉलम्स आउटपुट में. Okay, so coming back to you, Sai. So having and where is again, they both are synonymous. Okay, so they both are my filter clauses. Where is used with my select statement before my group bys. Having is a filter criteria which is used in place of where on top of my group by. I'll show it to you. Where just the next query, I'll show it to you. So if you want to add something on a group by ka filter also. So having is used as a filter criteria on top of group by, where standard filter criteria. ठीक है, quickly guys, how many rows, how many columns? Okay, Nishu says 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay, anybody has any other response? Great. Suman says 2 rows and 2 columns. Okay, this is interesting. Anybody else has any other response? Parak, Sai Vishwanath, Parth, Karthik. Yeah, people are saying 2 rows and 2 columns. Okay. So, okay, again, I'll just explain this answer. Thank you so much, guys. No problem, Parak. Let me explain it to you. ठीक है, अब इसमें क्या हो रहा है, सबसे पहले what we are doing here, we are doing the group by. So we understand this. So till here, if I do this, select some department ID from employees, where employee ID, till here, okay. No problem, Parth. Let me explain this. So if my query is till this part, till salary, okay. So if I'm doing this, then in that case, see, you're doing the sum of salary, right? So then in that case, my output would be 2 columns and 1 output. Okay. So because you're doing a sum of all the salary, because summing एक aggregation है, right? So you're aggregating on the entire data. But now here, in this case, the department definitely would not make a sense because I mean, by default, I'll give you 1. So that's why first row will not make sense. But again, coming back to this group by, okay. So group by क्या हो रहा है? Group by department ID. So you're doing the aggregation of my sum grouping by departments. Okay, so I have two departments here, right? So 1 and 2. So the first chunk of data, first group by department ID would be like 1, right? So the employee ID 101 and 103 will be filtered here, है ना? And now the second is department ID 102 and 104 will be filtered because this is my second department ID, correct? This is what I'm grouping by, right? So the output here is, look at this. So till this part where employee is greater than 15,000 or equal to, right? So for this is gone. So my first row is gone. So I'm left with 3 rows till group by, right? So till this statement, I'm left with only these 3 rows, right? So these 3 rows will be going under the group by department ID. So the group by department ID में क्या होगा आपका सबसे पहले 2 रोज बन जाएंगे बिकॉज यहाँ पे यूनिक 2 दिख रहा है, 2 और 1 2 यूनिक दिख रहे हैं, 2 बार है और 1 1 टाइम है, राइट? So you will be having 2 rows here. So first in which I'll be having the department ID of 2 and second the department ID of 1. And then sum of salary means 15,000 and 25,000 will be added together. So out will be 40,000, sum of salary as 40,000 and department ID as 2. And the second row would be 20,000 plus 0 because I do not have any row for department 1 which is qualifying this criteria. So 20,000 comma 1. So you'll be having 2 rows with 2 columns. Sum of salary, the column name, and the department ID, the column name. Any queries here? Parth, Parak, did you get this concept? Parth, did you get this answer? कोडिंग में अर्न कैसे करूं यार? आप कैसे भी कर सकते हो. बी अ ट्यूटर, आप अपने स्किल से पढ़ा सकते हो. यू कैन गेट अ गुड जॉब, देन गेट अ गुड सैलरी, मेनी वेज. ठीक है, कूल. अब देखो सिमिलरली यहाँ पे अब मैं हैविंग कैसे ऐड कर रहा हूं यहाँ पे. लुक एट दिस नाउ. ओके, व्हेन आई एम सेइंग दिस, नाउ लुक एट दिस. सो आई हैव माय वेयर एज वेल एज हैविंग हियर, राइट? सो वेयर में क्या, सो वेयर कब यूज हो रहा है? ग्रुप बाय से पहले यूज हो रहा है, राइट? एंड हैविंग कब हो रहा है? ग्रुप बाय के बाद हो रहा है, राइट? सो ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दिस, है ना? सो यू हैव ग्रुप बाय से पहले है वेयर, ग्रुप बाय के बाद है हैविंग, एंड दे बोथ आर फिल्टर क्राइटेरिया फॉर माय डेटा. ठीक है. सो वेयर में क्या बोल रहा हूं मैं? वेयर सैलरी इज ग्रेटर देन 15,000. सो पहले वेयर एग्जीक्यूट होगा, सबसे पहले आपका वेयर एग्जीक्यूट होगा. सो इसमें क्या हुआ आपके पास? ये मतलब फर्स्ट रो चला गया, मेरे पास सिर्फ 3 रो बचे, है ना? ये 3 रो बचे. सो मैंने सिमिलरली, अब मैं डिपार्टमेंट आईडी तक देखूं तो मेरे पास क्या आउटपुट बच रहा था? अब मेरे पास ये 3 के ऊपर मेरे को डिपार्टमेंट आईडी करना है. अब सम करना पड़ेगा, मतलब आउटपुट क्या है मेरे पास? डिपार्टमेंट आईडी 2 है जिसका सम हो जाएगा 40,000 एंड डिपार्टमेंट आईडी 1 का सम हो जाएगा 20,000, राइट? अब इसमें देखो मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं, हैविंग काउंट ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट आईडी इज ग्रेटर देन और इक्वल टू 2. Can now somebody tell me how many rows, how many columns would be there? Quickly. कुशल, I'll explain it to you. यार आइडिया बता दूं आपको. देखो आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो यार. अगेन सेम थिंग, मैं आपको बोल रहा था, पढ़ा भी सकते हो. यू कैन डू फ्रीलांसिंग, यू कैन गेट अ जॉब, है ना? बहुत सारे वेज हैं. फिर से बता दूं? ठीक है, फिर से बता देता हूँ. I'll do that. सुमन, परक, आई होप यू आर गेटिंग द पॉइंट, राइट? ठीक है, I'll just meanwhile explain it to you guys. सो अब मैं देखो यहाँ पे क्या, देखो अब इस ग्रुप बाय के बाद में एक और फिल्टर लगा रहा हूं. मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं? नाउ हैविंग इज अगेन सिनोनिमस टू फिल्टर वेयर ओनली, बट आफ्टर ग्रुप बाय. ठीक है, हैविंग काउंट ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट आईडी. सो बेसिकली आई एम सेइंग दैट इस डिपार्टमेंट आईडी का जो काउंट है ना, count should be greater than or equal to 2. That means that each of the department ID, each word is very important. So each of my department ID should have the count greater than or equal to 2. So now in this case, yes, the column, the department ID 2 is having the 2 rows, basically 102 and 104, but the department ID 1 is only left with 1 row. So basically this will get filtered out here. So my department ID 1 will get filtered out at this point. So the output will have only 1 row where with 2 columns, and the column names would be sum of salary and department ID, and the values would be 40,000 and 2. किसी को कोई डाउट है इसमें? Where and having सबको क्रिस्टल क्लियर है? एवरीबडी इज ओके विद दिस? यस गाइस, निशु, पारक, सुमंत, कार्तिक, एब्सोल्युटली ग्रेट. 1 row and 2 columns, yes. और किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन? एनीथिंग इज क्लियर? नहीं, वेयर यूज नहीं कर सकते कुशल की जगह, कुशल हैविंग की जगह पे. आई हैव सेड वेयर कैन ओनली बी यूज बिफोर ग्रुप बाय. इफ यू राइट वेयर आफ्टर ग्रुप बाय, विल गिव यू सिंटेक्स एरर. वो आप यूज ही नहीं कर सकते कुशल, है ना. आप अगर उसको आप उसको डालोगे वेयर की जगह पे, हैविंग की जगह पे वेयर डालोगे तो एरर आ जाएगा, सिंटेक्स एरर आ जाएगा. नहीं, हैविंग इज ऑलवेज, साई विश्वनाथ, हैविंग इज ऑलवेज एग्जीक्यूटेड आफ्टर वेयर. सबसे पहले वेयर एग्जीक्यूट होगा एंड देन ग्रुप बाय एग्जीक्यूट होगा एंड देन हैविंग एग्जीक्यूट होगा. आई हैव गिवन यू दिस क्लॉज का ऑर्डर ना. दिस इज हाउ इट विल बी ऑर्डर, दिस विल हाउ इट विल बी प्रोसेस्ड. सबसे पहले वेयर प्रोसेस होगा, देन ग्रुप बाय प्रोसेस होगा एंड देन हैविंग, एंड देन उसके बाद ऑर्डर या लिमिट अगर है तो. ठीक है, कूल है, किसी को कोई इशू नहीं है? दीपक, क्या इशू है? देखो फिर से सेम क्लॉज है हमारा, वेयर और हैविंग. मैंने बताया आपको अगेन सिनोनिमस है. मतलब वेयर इज अगेन अ फिल्टर क्राइटेरिया, हैविंग इज आल्सो फिल्टर क्राइटेरिया. एंड ग्रुप बाई से पहले यू आर हैविंग वेयर, ग्रुप बाई के बाद यू आर हैविंग हैविंग, है ना. So again they both are filter criteria. Where is used before your group by, before your group by. So सबसे पहले where execute होगा. So at this point of time your row ID 1 will be removed. So because this is not fulfilling to this criteria, right? So this is executed. You are left with only 3 rows. ठीक है? So now group by is getting executed. This is done. So your summation is done. And now you're saying that having count of department ID is greater than or equal to 2. That means I'm saying that all of the individual department IDs should have at least 2 rows. Count basically row count करता है, right? So count of department मतलब number of rows of department ID should be greater than or equal to 2. So in this case department ID जो 2 है is fulfilling to my criteria, but the department ID जो 1 है that is not fulfilling my criteria. Clear है? चलो लास्ट में एक क्वेश्चन बता देता हूं, ऑर्डर बाय. ठीक है, सेम चीज है गाइस. अब इसमें ऑर्डर बाय भी क्या, ऑर्डर मैंने क्या बोला था, ऑर्डर बाय हमेशा ग्रुप बाय के बाद होगा. अगर हैविंग है तो हैविंग के बाद भी होगा ग्रुप बाय, हैविंग के बाद होगा ऑर्डर बाय हमेशा. अगर आपको हैविंग भी ऐड करना है तो ग्रुप बाय, हैविंग, देन ऑर्डर. अगर हैविंग नहीं है तो देन यू कैन ऐड ग्रुप बाय के बाद ऑर्डर, है ना. अब देखो सेम चीज है. अब हमने क्या करा इसमें गाइस क्विकली. सो इसमें हमने 2 चीजें करा. सो व्हाट आई एम डूइंग इज, look at this. So I'm selecting sum of salary as sum of sal. So sum of sal. So I have renamed this column to sum of sal, and I'm selecting department ID from employees where employee ID is greater than or equal to 15,000. So again मेरा 3 rows output में आएगा. Group by department ID, fair enough. Then order by sum of sal and DESC. Guys, somebody asked me ascending ना. हाँ, by default ascending होता है, but I've added this keyword DESC. So I'm trying to order it on the descending order. Quickly guys, how many rows, how many columns here? Great. 2 rows and 2 columns, absolutely. And in this case, दीपक 3 rows क्यों बोला आपने? ग्रुप बाई किया ना मैंने, ग्रुप बाई डिपार्टमेंट आईडी किया मैंने. डिपार्टमेंट आईडी क्या है मेरा, 2 and 1 है. सो 2 ही तो रो होगा ना. 3 rows कैसे होगा दीपक? 2 rows and 2 columns ना. सो कोई इशू हो प्लीज बताओ दीपक, इफ यू आर स्टिल स्टक. 2 rows and 2 columns, but here my first value would be what? I'm doing an order by बेस्ड ऑन सम ऑफ सेल इन द डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर। जो सबसे बड़ा जो होगा वो पहले आएगा, तो डिपार्टमेंट आईडी 2 पहले आएगा बिकॉज मेरा सम ऑफ सैलरी वहां पे 40,000 है, तो माय फर्स्ट वैल्यू वुड बी 40,000, राइट? And then department ID 2, and then the second value is 15,000, 20,000, and the department ID is 1, right? इसमें कोई इशू नहीं है किसी को? ओके, चलो लास्ट कॉन्सेप्ट क्विकली खत्म कर लेते हैं, यूनियन एंड यूनियन ऑल। ठीक है, सबसे पहले यूनियन और यूनियन ऑल करता क्या? ये दोनों स्टेटमेंट दे आर एक्चुअली हेल्पिंग अस टू कॉन्कैटिनेट और कंबाइन टू डिफरेंट सेलेक्ट स्टेटमेंट्स। ठीक है, आपके दो डिफरेंट सेलेक्ट स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, आप उसको कंबाइन कर रहे हो। ठीक है, कंबाइन कैसे कर रहे हो? यू आर कंबाइनिंग टू डिफरेंट सेलेक्ट स्टेटमेंट्स, उसके आउटपुट को। अब इसमें मेजर डिफरेंस क्या होता है यूनियन एंड यूनियन ऑल में? यूनियन इज एक्चुअली इंक्लूडिंग योर डुप्लीकेट, यूनियन इज एक्चुअली रिमूविंग योर डुप्लीकेट्स, इट्स बेसिकली योर डिस्टिंक्ट वैल्यूज का सेट, है ना? you're selecting only the distinct values out of your all entire selection statement। ठीक है, यूनियन ऑल क्या करता है? it takes all, it does not remove the duplicates, that's the only difference, यूनियन एंड यूनियन ऑल। ठीक है, इसका एग्जांपल देखते हैं क्विकली। Look at this. So I have my first table here, ID 1346, product name Apple, Samsung, OnePlus, Micromax। ठीक है, second table या employee ID मत देखना प्लीज, ये by mistake रह गया मुझसे, है ना? So this is 2345 and I have product here Nokia, Samsung, OnePlus, Sony। ठीक है, अब मैं क्या करूंगा? सपोज दिस इज माय फर्स्ट सेलेक्ट स्टेटमेंट, सेलेक्ट प्रोडक्ट फ्रॉम प्रोडक्ट 1। सो दिस इज माय प्रोडक्ट 1 टेबल, इसमें से मैं प्रोडक्ट को सिलेक्ट कर रहा हूं, तो बाय डिफॉल्ट I'm selecting everything, right? So this will give me an output of Apple, Samsung, OnePlus, and Micromax, correct? And likewise, this is my second select statement. Select product from product 2. So it will give me Nokia, Samsung, OnePlus, and Sony, right? But इसमें आपको दिख रहा होगा Samsung is common and OnePlus is common, है ना? तो जब मैं इसको यूनियन करूंगा तो it will यार मैंने ना मिस्टेक कर रखी है इसमें, एक सेकंड रुकना यार प्लीज, सॉरी, माय बैड। Just give me a minute guys, I'm really sorry, I think I have forgot to remove this। यार मेरे को एडिट करने नहीं दे रहा ये, अरे यार। हाँ ठीक है, कूल, ग्रेट। सो नाउ कैन यू सी दिस? यूनियन क्या करेगा मेरा? यूनियन बाय डिफॉल्ट इसमें से जो आपके कॉमन वैल्यूज हैं, कॉमन क्या क्या थे? सैमसंग और वन प्लस रिपीट हो गया, राइट? सो वो उसमें से उसके यूनिक सेट को लेगा एंड इट गिव मी ऑल द वैल्यूज, राइट? सो इट विल रिमूव सैमसंग एंड वन प्लस जो कि 2 बार आ रहा था। सो आउटपुट विल हैव एप्पल, सैमसंग, वन प्लस, सोनी एंड माइक्रोमैक्स। इट विल रिमूव द common ones which is Samsung and OnePlus। ठीक है, that's what my union does। ठीक है, सेम एग्जांपल को आप अगर यूनियन ऑल में करोगे ना, यूनियन ऑल को एग्जैक्टली रेप्लिका दे देगा। सो एप्पल, सैमसंग, OnePlus, माइक्रोमैक्स फर्स्ट टेबल से, एंड देन नोकिया, सैमसंग, OnePlus, सोनी सेकंड टेबल से। इट विल गिव यू द विद द डुप्लीकेटेड वैल्यूज। ठीक है, सो दैट्स द ओनली डिफरेंस बिटवीन यूनियन एंड यूनियन ऑल। एग्जैक्टली, इसमें डुप्लीकेट वैल्यूज आएगा, यूनियन में डुप्लीकेट वैल्यूज नहीं आएगा। यूनियन ऑल, ऑल में क्या बाय डिफॉल्ट इट इज क्लियर ना, ऑल और सब कुछ चाहिए उसको, तो ऑल में इट विल ऐड ऑल द डुप्लीकेटेड वैल्यूज आल्सो। Okay, Sumant has one question. When we are doing union of 2 tables, okay, should the column name as well as the sequence of column name in both tables be same? Should the column name, okay, as well as the sequence of column name in both the tables be same? Ideally, yes यार। So sequence का मैं नहीं बोलूंगा, sequence is not that mandatory because suppose अगर मेरा ये यहाँ पे फर्स्ट प्रोडक्ट होता, सेकंड आईडी होता सेकंड टेबल में, तो दैट इज ऑल्सो फाइन। But yes, at least I would say in that sense, column name same hona chahiye. Or in case you can rename it also later. For example, select product as, you can say PRD. So likewise, you can do select product as PRD on the second table also. If agar uska naam different bhi hai, then you can put an alias and try to do the union also. That is also fine. Clear, Suman? कुछ doubt हो तो मुझे बताना. Great, guys. I hope you are able to understand this. Great. Thank you, Sudhanshu, for your good words. Thank you, Karthik, for your good words. Anybody has any questions from anything? Yes, sequence would be same here. Sequence would be like when I'm adding the first table ना, तो first table का जो values 4 है वो पहले आया हुआ है मेरे पास. दिख रहा है आपको यहाँ पे? पहले ये 4 आया मेरे पास, and then उसके बाद ये 4 second table से आया. So first 4 are from my first table, the last 4 are from my second table. Sequence is also important. Karthik, yes. Yeah, we can take data science also. Why not? So that's the plan actually. So I'll be starting data science quite soon. So let's see how it goes there. We can select more columns in union also, Sai, Vishwanath. But again, yes, but you have to be very sure that those two columns ke I mean, you'll be kind of again concatenating based on those two columns, right? So those two columns has to be present on the other column also, other table also. Otherwise, it won't make sense. Master subqueries नहीं होते ना सब. Okay. Rishabh will do subqueries. Do not worry about that. Subqueries will start from tomorrow, है ना? So, but again, guys, I would only request you कि अगर आप basic चीजें समझ गए ना, so for example, आप if you can understand this view tables, what I was talking about, number of rows and number of columns, right? So these are very important. So if you understand these basic things, right? So then we can we should be able to write the queries on subqueries, nested queries, joins, and all that. So do not worry about that. I'll make sure कि जब हम from tomorrow onwards we'll be going from tomorrow we'll be going live at 10 a.m. in the morning, है ना? So I will be doing a lot of questions. So I'll make sure कि जो भी हम questions करेंगे nested looping के ऊपर, you guys are able to understand that, है ना? If you're not able to understand, we'll stop it straight away. So do not worry about that. We'll make sure that you understand it. Do not worry. Data science course or any pointers for DS course? Data science course we've not started, Karthik, as of now, you know? So but we'll definitely start it. So I do not have any specific pointers for you right now, but we can get that sorted. I have in my plan, so we'll be starting it quite soon. Kushal, हाँ यार पूरा course होगा, do not worry. So one table one ID name and table 2 name ID, can we do union in the if the table is in this error? Yes, we can do that because we are anyway selecting a particular column, right? So suppose I'm doing select name from table 1, union select name from table 2. How does it matter? We can do that. है ना? So month we can do that. Karthik, what are the timings? Okay, so timings are actually so in the weekdays, Monday to Friday, whenever I'm going live, that's gonna be from 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. That's my live time. If I'm going live on the weekends, that's gonna be from 10 a.m. morning. Okay. Kushal, yeah, pura course hoga yaar. I've already updated. So Nishu, yes, we can do that. Great. Anybody has any other question? I hope I answered everybody. If still anybody has any question, do let me know. Yeah, yes, thank you so much, Parag. So we already have the playlist on the CodeBeyond channel under my name, Arpit Jain. Okay, so for the Python, we have a separate playlist. For the SQL, we have a separate playlist. And likewise, as I've said, so we're gonna start with data science also quite soon. We're gonna be doing that stats and ML. We're gonna be covering it. So, but again, that's planned. So that has not been started. So I'll take it. We cannot have multiple classes running. So because Python and SQL are already running side by side, so we'll take it likewise. Yes, Sumant, we can take two columns also in union and union all, but again depends that अब suppose आप ID and product को कर रहे हो तो they both has to be similar. So अभी सिर्फ product नहीं होगा, अभी आपका ID and product का combination एक unique key है ना? So always understand कि आप output में क्या expect कर रहे हो. But if you ask me, can we do that? Then in that case, yes, we can do that. Great, guys. Thank you so much. It was a lengthy session today, but definitely worth it. So we have covered the conceptual parts which I wanted to cover. Okay. So tomorrow onwards, 10 a.m. guys, please be on your toes. Please have the MySQL workbench setup done. So we'll have the questions. We'll have the question sessions tomorrow. Okay. So I'll show you around the MySQL workbench place. So how does it look like? Your look and feel. And then we're going to do a lot of exercises from tomorrow on. So tomorrow we have 2 hour session. So 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. So we're going to do that. So we're going to do a lot of exercise. I'll try to cover as many questions as I can. Okay. So let's see. सर्वर को कनेक्ट नहीं करना है पारक. सो सर्वर को आपको तो लोकल डीबी सेटअप करना है. अच्छा आप यूट्यूब कर लेना. ठीक है, यूट्यूब कर लेना हाउ टू सेटअप अ लोकल सर्वर ऑन MySQL वर्कबेंच. सो यू विल गेट द वीडियो, यू कैन क्लियर इट. You want to buy Unacademy, please reach out to the finance team. They'll share the details. Great, guys. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure interacting with you all. Great. So let's see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. So we're gonna solve some exercises tomorrow. Great, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good day ahead. Stay safe. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.